Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very happy and really humbled that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Tell your kids' teachers, their principals, their guidance counselors, their librarians, and let them all know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. They can also find us on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, Audible, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Player FM, Boomplay, Ghana, and about a bazillion other podcasting apps. A little later on in the show, we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read to celebrate. But first, we will be meeting Stephanie Barber. She is here to tell us all about Read.com. And later in the show, Renee Greene Murphy will be here to celebrate your heart's voice. We would like to invite you to embark on a transformative journey with The Invisible Backpack, A Life of Courage, written by William Hartwick. Are you burdened by past hurts, grief, or trauma? William's heartfelt narrative, born from his own struggles with depression and Tourette's syndrome, offers a pathway to lightening your load. Just like you, he knows the weight of an invisible backpack, growing heavier as life unfolds. But in his touching story, William invites you to courageously unpack it, making space for forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, and love. Join William on a profound exploration of healing, blessings, and inner strength. Through William's vulnerability, he reveals the power of embracing your true self. Don't miss this inspirational tale of resilience and hope. Order your copy of The Invisible Backpack today and embark on a journey of self-discovery and courage. Hey, are you looking for a fun read to share with your kids? Take a magical journey through Italy with Mozzarella and his cheese-loving friends. Introducing the Mozzarella book series written by Jenna James. You and your kids are going to love to follow Mozzarella and his friends as they search for the golden bucket genie. Along the way, you'll learn Italian words, discover new cultures, and learn important lessons about family, honesty, and kindness. Parents will love the bilingual elements that subtly teach a new language. And kids will be entertained and engaged page after page. Discover the heartwarming tales of Mozzarella today. Please visit mozzarellabooks.com to pre-order the series and to find free activities, recipes, and more. The Mozzarella Books by Jenna James, bringing families together with tales of cheese, culture, and fun. Get ready for a heartwarming adventure in Mommy's Day Off, the delightful picture book written by Jacqueline Christine. When young Louis's mom has to be away for a day, he's in for a wild ride with his dad. From waffle and ice cream breakfast to Wild West battles, they embark on an unforgettable journey filled with laughter and bonding. But as the day unfolds, Louis realizes there's a special magic that only his mom can bring to their home. Join Louis as he discovers the irreplaceable role his mom plays in his life, making Mommy's Day Off a touching tale of family, love, and the unique bond between a mother and her child. Get your copy today at Amazon or at JacquelineChristine.com. Join us right now from beautiful Southern California. Our guest is here today to celebrate our really cool website. It's called Reading.com. Please welcome to the show, Stephanie Barber. Hey, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, Jed. Good. How are you?
There's so many great things going on today. I just finished a really fun interview, and Stephanie and I have just been talking about Boston and all sorts of wonderful things. This is going to be a great interview. So the world is a wonderful place today.
I love that. I love starting the day like that. Yeah, that's good.
So tell us about reading.com. I love the domain name. What a great find.
Yeah, right. That's our, we love it too. So it's actually not, a website so much as it's a mobile app.
Okay.
So we are on, iOS and Android right now. And it's a program primarily for parents to teach their kids how to read at home. So it's 99 lessons that are all phonics-based and founded in the science of reading. And there are 60 decodable books included and some 4 reinforcement games, so games that the kids can play on their own for extra practice and reinforcement of concepts. But our unique take on our program is that our lessons are all co-play. So they're all explicitly designed for a parent and a child to use together. So it's not like hand this off to your kid and they just do it on their own. It's meant to be a collaborative experience.
Well, that certainly is right in line with our mission. Because we are firm believers in reading with your kids and drawing with your kids and doing STEM activities with your kids, even when they're independent. And I have to tell you, parents, no matter what your kids say to you, especially those teenagers who say, I hate you, I don't want to. Your kids love you and they want to spend time with you. And they want to spend time with you more than anybody else in reality. Even though they don't know it, when they get that time together, it's awesome and they cherish it. And I have to ask you, Stephanie, you may not know this because reading.com is based on phonics. How did we get away from that? I mean, that's the way I grew up reading and learning how to read. But it seems like there was a long stretch of time when we said, well, this doesn't work for everybody, so instead of saying, well, let's find something that will work for the kids that phonics isn't working for, we kind of threw everything out and came up with new ways of trying to teach kids how to read, and it doesn't seem like it's worked so well.
Yeah, so I'll try to, without, we could talk about, this could be a whole other podcast, but to try to summarize, basically, there was a movement that believed that learning to read was much like learning to speak, in that it was something a child would do inherently, that it was that you would learn how to read in the same way that you learn how to speak, which we know now is not true. That's just not based on the actual science of how the brain learns to read. So the focus became, there was the movement that pushed, instead of phonics-based instruction, focusing on the meaning of words and looking at whole words and focusing on reading comprehension and developing love of reading, which is lovely in concept, right? Instead of focusing on kind of the nuts and bolts of learning to read, just really spending classroom time and everything just on developing a love of reading and thinking about the meaning of words and reading comprehension. But it's skipping past those fundamental skills. Mm-hmm. So that was the balanced literacy approach in broad strokes, is what that was referred to. And that's what led us astray for so long, because it's just not based in science of how the brain actually learns to read. So as lovely as those concepts are, we have, a whole generation of kids who never actually learned the structural foundations of reading, so they couldn't really learn how to love reading or learn, get to that next step. Mm-hmm. And some kids will figure it out on their own, right? There'll be some that do figure it out, but the vast majority do not. And so that's when the movement back towards phonics really started happening, and we're definitely part of that with the science of reading. We're firmly in that camp, and we want to help parents feel empowered to teach their kids how to read at home using that phonics-based approach. So if they're in a school system that hasn't maybe switched over yet, they're still struggling to transition, or they're just worried that, their kid might not be getting that attention at school that they need, that they can do that at home.
Yeah. And I like to stress this as often as we can. One of the things that's happening in our schools today and it's been happening, and that I don't think is known widely enough, is that from kindergarten through second grade, you're learning to read.
Right.
But once third grade comes along, you're expected to read to learn. The emphasis on teaching you how to read ends. The emphasis on kids learning on their own by reading begins. And if your kid isn't reading by third grade, they could really get left behind in all different subjects.
Yeah, that's yes, that's the big transition. And that's usually when people start to see, they may start to see issues beforehand, but we see a big spike in reading issues start to show up in third grade, because that's when that transition is starting to happen, when now we're expecting kids to actually start learning from reading. And then now we realize that they can't read, or, they can't decode, they have low vocabulary skills, they have low reading comprehension skills. So that all kind of gets revealed in third grade. And one of the issues with balanced literacy programs is that they used something called the cueing system to supposedly help children learn to read, and it's actually detrimental to their reading skills. So the cueing system would be like, for example, looking at a picture in a book to guess what a word might be, as opposed to actually reading the word, or trying to figure out, based on the context of the sentence, guessing again what the word might be without actually reading. So those skills actually those techniques actually prevent the child from actually learning to read. So when they get to third grade, fourth grade, when they're starting to learn more difficult concepts and they're supposed to be figuring it out from reading, they get stuck. They hit a wall because they can't actually read. And so then those cueing skills, those cueing techniques, I should say, don't actually support real reading. Yeah. So, it's sad. And so that's when, the system has let a lot of these kids down. And that's not to say, I come from a family of teachers. I love teachers, and people go into teaching because they want to help kids, and they love, they're not in it for the money. That's for sure. Not in it, they go in because they want to. And I think a lot of teachers now are realizing that, they want to switch. They want to switch over to what is the right system. And, sometimes they even struggle to find the right curriculum, or, they're learning too. They're trying to adjust as well. So it's just, we're all in this together, I guess, is what I'm saying, to switch back over to the right system.
One of the things that was frustrating for my beautiful wife, who taught for 34 years, is that the schools would switch curriculum every 7 or 8 years, and it seemed more dependent on the fact that, we have this money, we need to spend it. We can spend it on this new curriculum, and we'll throw everything else out. It worked. But no, we're going to try something different. And I don't know. Change is good, but not change just for change's sake, or change just to spend money.
Yeah, that's exactly. There was also the testing, the testing systems that really, even if they had good intentions, just implementation weren't very productive for a lot of schools and teachers, and switching curriculums like that so quickly, and not really, them not being implemented very well, or having adequate training. And there's so many issues with that kind of stuff. I'd say it's challenging. The schools, I don't envy people in administrative positions and things trying to do that, trying to implement new curricula, trying to, find what works for people, trying to make sure everybody's trained and on the same page. It's really challenging work.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we've talked about here on the podcast, is, and we've talked about dyslexia and how to support kids who experience dyslexia. And, we've heard that English is difficult, reading English is difficult because we have I'm not going to get the numbers right, but we have 26 letters that represent 48 sounds.
44 phonemes is generally what people say usually.
Yeah. And so what about that? This letter makes this sound except on Tuesday when it's snowy in Baltimore.
Right.
How do we help those kids who aren't able to, who kind of like their mind goes, wait a minute, that doesn't fit the rules, and, and their head explodes.
There's different schools of thought of how to approach this. The way our program does is that we kind of scaffold, I suppose. We use scaffolding to approach that. So in that we add orthography to our reading. So what I mean by that is that we have little visual cues on our text to help kids who are just starting to learn to read. It's like training wheels, just starting how to read, how to just sound out, how to recognize when there's a new sound for the same letter. So, for example, on a long vowel, we'll have a line over it to show them that this is a long vowel. So they say, okay, this is a long vowel. This is this version of this vowel. And there are other programs that use somewhat similar techniques. That's a known technique to use just to start kids off, like training wheels. And then in the school system, they may learn the actual rules, right? Like all of the actual phonics rules. We don't do that in our program because we just want to get them to the actual skill of decoding. So we just want them to get right into actually decoding. We give them those training wheels, and we don't bog everything down with all of these technical rules. They may get that when they go to school, or they may not. But at least they are practicing. We're getting them into that skill of decoding and not getting stuck. And also we don't want parents to get stuck, right? That's where parents would get stuck, I have to learn all this stuff. Like I have to learn all these rules and try to explain them in some way. And I'm not a teacher, and we don't want people to get stuck on that. We just want you to get right into, like riding a bike, just get on it, just start doing it, get into actually practicing it.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. I think kids, really like, and especially I'm imagining the kids who we call reluctant readers and kids who have a lot of extra energy. And those are the kids that when you give them the tools to kind of decode things and figure things out on their own, they get real excited. And then now it's a challenge. It's like, whoa, that symbol makes this sound, and I can put them together. And isn't this neat? And it's they get a little sense of accomplishment every time they decode a word.
Exactly. Actually, we just had, we're about to have a study that was just done on our program that we're about to post. And one of the things was talking about how our curriculum is set up to really empower students and parents. Exactly what you say, that it gives them that feeling of efficacy so that they can, and agency, right? So it's very empowering for, like you said, a young kid who's just learning how to read, that they can just do it. They can figure it. We're removing those roadblocks and all the kind of junk. And then they get excited, and now this is now how they can develop that love of reading. Now they feel empowered that they've been able to do it. And parents get excited too, that they now feel, they're like, oh, I can do this. I can teach my kid how to read. I can do this, and I can help my kid, and everybody has that positive feeling and can keep moving forward.
Yeah. It unlocks so much for a parent and a kid.
Yes.
When you reading with your kids, I've mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it in this episode. We're recording a lot today. But, I started the podcast because I know the relationship I have with my adult kids was built on a foundation that we created by reading together and by helping, because I was a big phonics guy, helping my kids understand this symbol makes this sound, and you put them together, and those moments teaching the kids how to read, and the conversations that we had led to conversations about music, about movies, about relationships, and it's just so important. And for you to be the one that helps your kid develop a love of reading, that helps them learn how to read, what a gift that you're giving to you and your kid.
Exactly. Yeah, it opens up a whole new world.
Yeah.
Even if you're, some people as adults maybe don't love reading anymore, but you still need it as a fundamental skill. Mm-hmm. So even if it's not just reading for fun, it's still reading to learn, reading to, expand your skill sets, reading to just grow as an individual. So, and that's arguably what a parent's primary job is, right? Sure. Keeping you safe and helping you develop into a whole person. And reading is such a fundamental part of that.
Absolutely. Hey, how did this launch? How did this app come to be?
Great question. So our CEO, Austin Butler, some years ago wanted to teach his son how to read at home. So we're part of teaching.com. So, we have a few other products. We have typing.com. We have NitroType. So those are very different products from reading.com, but he's been in the education space for a long time, and he wanted to teach his son how to read himself at home, and ran into all of the struggles that any other parent would. He realized that there weren't great programs out there for parents to teach their kids how to read at home. There were some books, but they weren't very engaging. They had a lot of onboarding, like things, you had to learn a lot as a parent to prepare yourself. The apps weren't very good. Like there wasn't anything that was interactive with a parent and a child. It's just nothing that was great. And so when he realized that, as he was going through that struggle himself, and knowing our background as a company, realized that we could really make the product that he wished he had. And so that's what we did.
Awesome.
So
That's, you need something, you can't find it, make it yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, how did you come to be part of the team?
Oh, I've been in education technology now for too long. I don't want to reveal my age, but I started off in education as a tutor, and I was very passionate about the students I was working with, and really saw the disparity in education. I had very wealthy students, and I had very poor students, and I got to see firsthand what the difference in education quality that they received. And so that inspired me to go back to school, get my master's degree in nonprofit management, so that I could go into the nonprofit world for education with an education policy focus. Then fell into education technology, doing curriculum development and project and program management, and then never looked back. So had the opportunity to start doing this product development, and it's been amazing. So yeah. I've been with a few different organizations, but now we're teaching.com for 5 years now, something like that. So
one of the things that I loved is you're talking about, I also started my career as a tutor in high school, going into some of the housing projects in inner city Boston and tutoring kids in reading and teaching them phonics. And it was really, there is such a disparity, and there are a lot of families that can afford to hire a tutor to sit down with their kids. I'm thinking that this app can be such a gift for those families that don't have that funding, that, they can make the investment in this app and become your kid's fancy smancy tutor. And that would be even better because there's nothing like the relationship, learning with somebody that you love and that you know loves you, I think is such a blessing.
Right, exactly. That's the whole point of this program, is to empower parents that they don't feel like they need to, they don't feel like they need to go, hire somebody or having that desperation, that they can they have all the tools that they need as parents to just do this more valuable, I suppose,
So we've talked about how cool the program is and all the benefits. It's not for free. How does it work?
Sure. So users can go to our website. So they can go to reading.com and they can sign up. We have a 7-day free trial, and then you can choose between an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. And so there are 2 different price points there for people who want to look at that. Right now on our website, our annual subscription is $74.99, and our monthly subscription is $12.49 a month. So people can choose from that. We also have promotions that come out through emails and things like that, so people can sign up that way to get extra information. And then you can also sign up, if you don't want to sign up that way, you can also sign up through the app stores themselves. So when you download the app on either Apple or through Google Play, you can get subscriptions through those services as well.
So for less than a ticket to the movies, it's been a long time since I went to the movies.
Yeah, movies are expensive.
But I mean, we're talking about something that's like, you go to the movies, forget about going to the Red Sox, but less than take one ticket to a movie, you can help your kid develop a love of reading, which is a gift that will last them a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, right. Like you said, if you think about the other quality time that you would spend with your kids, taking them to the movies, but this is something you're going to use every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your kid, and you get to have that really special time with them. And a lot of people, some people use it in the mornings before they go to school, or they use it right after school, or they, because it's a mobile app, you can use it in the car while you're, waiting for sister's swim practice, or a lot of people use it at night before going to bed, or however people want to use it in their lives. It's very convenient, and you can fit that time in and whatever works for you and your family.
Sounds like a great investment. Want to encourage everybody to check out reading.com, right?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. We've had a great time speaking about all things reading with our friend Stephanie Barber. Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, are you ready to ignite a passion for reading in your students? Introducing bookandauthor.com, your gateway to literacy connections. With bookandauthor.com, connecting your school with talented authors of captivating kids' books has never been easier. Simply visit our user-friendly website and explore our extensive database of authors. Filter your search based on budget, genre, and availability. Discover the perfect match for your school and your students. But that's not all. With bookandauthor.com, you have the power to request a proposal. Let vetted authors come to you with their tailored ideas, ensuring an unforgettable literacy experience for your students. Don't wait any longer to inspire young minds through the magic of books. Visit bookandauthor.com today and open the door to a world of literacy connections. Bookandauthor.com, where literacy comes to life. Hey, my friends, I want to take a minute to celebrate our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read, Logan and the Lost Luggage, a magic phone adventure. Written by Christine Ritchie McNamee. This is a delightful tale that takes readers on a whimsical journey with Logan, a 2-year-old Cocker Spaniel with a magical secret. He lives in Boston. Logan's everyday life takes an extraordinary turn when he embarks on a family trip to visit his grandparents in Florida. The story begins with Logan eagerly anticipating the adventure ahead. His excitement is palpable as he joins his family at the airport. However, when Logan's family discovers their luggage is missing, Logan takes it upon himself to embark on a mission to retrieve it, armed with his trusty magic bones. What follows is a charming escapade that sees Logan traveling across the globe, from London to Paris, Sicily to Madrid, and even as far away as Australia and Antarctica, in search of the missing luggage. Along the way, Logan encounters an array of colorful characters, including Harry the horse, Simone the French poodle, Gino the goat, Fernando the bull, Mei Ling the panda, Kate the kangaroo, and Buddy the bird, each offering their unique assistance to the quest. Logan and the Lost Luggage is a delightful read that combines whimsy, adventure, and valuable life lessons. You and your kids are going to love it. Pick up your copy today. Logan and the Lost Luggage by Christine Ritchie McNamee, our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Before we invite our guests into the studio, I want to ask you, are you looking for a unique way to support diverse voices in literature? Introducing By YQ Book Fairs, where every page tells a story of empowerment, culture, and diversity. By YQ Book Fairs is a 100% women and minority-owned initiative showcasing a hand-picked selection of diverse books that celebrate inclusivity and representation. From captivating narratives to thought-provoking poetry, our curated collection has something for everyone. And hosting a By YQ Book Fair is a super easy and a fantastic way to raise funds for your organization or cause. So why wait? Visit buyobq.com today to learn more about how you can bring the magic of diverse literature to your community while supporting women and minority-owned businesses. Join us right now from Long Island in the state of New York. Our guest is here today to celebrate her award-winning book. It's called Your Heart's Voice. Please welcome to the show, Renee Greene Murphy. Hey, Renee, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Delighted to have you on. Your Heart's Voice, a really cool title. Tell us all about the book, please.
Sure, my pleasure. Your Heart's Voice was created, the concept, in 2018 after I had my second child. I was a stay-at-home mom. I remember working out and thinking, what am I going to do? I can't just have this redundancy that we have as stay-at-home parents. I need to do more. And I remember that I used to always want to write a book. I'm a New York State certified school counselor. I worked in a charter school for 10 years as a special ed coordinator, school counselor. And I always relied on books to teach my children, my students, lessons, whether it was bullying in the classroom, outside of the classroom, life lessons in the home, or nutritional foods that they should be eating, or academic performance, whatever the issues were, we always reverted back to books to teach our students. And at the time, I always approached counseling by a student-centered approach and a strengths-based approach. At the time, I didn't lead with intuition, which is what my book is about, but I always wanted to rely on the child's strengths. They needed to be able to identify what they were, and then we always focused on that as opposed to the negative. That was always my philosophy. Fast forward in 2018, it dawned on me that there were no books on intuition. I did my research, and I was astounded to find out that there were teen-based books, teenage books, parent books, books written by psychologists, but no children's picture books. And as a mom, again, now I'm relying on picture books and books to teach my now 6-year-old and my newborn, at that time she was an infant. So she was about 1. And I said to my husband, I need to write a book. It's something I've always wanted to do, and it's going to be about intuition. There's no books out there, and it's such an important concept to teach children. And I started writing it, and I put it away after maybe the concept was born and the main character. And it was about a year ago, I brought it back out after there was a tragedy in my family. My little brother tragically died in a car accident in the town we live in, unexpectedly. And I naturally went to writing, something that I've always done. Even as a little girl, I used to always have a journal. As a teen, I wrote a lot of poetry. I always enjoyed writing. And I remembered I had this manuscript in my closet, and I took it out and I changed the main character from Divine to Jade. I started to implement some spiritual subliminal messages into the book. Jade, the main character, is 11, which is an angel number. And it means that your spirit guides are with you. Jade, the name Jade means the jewel of the heavens. And so while the book is not directly about grief and or death, it has a lot of subliminal messages about it because of my brother. Your heart's voice means your intuition. And so I needed to connect a visual for children to what your intuition is, because it's such a hard concept to understand. Mm-hmm. And so it's the whisper in your heart. When you hear that voice, it's going to tell you the right thing to do. And as a child or anyone, we have a choice to listen or not to listen. Jade learns 3 life lessons throughout the story, very simple life lessons that any child can relate to. Cleaning up her room, taking things. She takes her dad's pen without asking. She needs to return it. Eating her vegetables at dinner. She has this whisper in her heart. She doesn't know what it is, and it's telling her the right thing to do. And she chooses to listen. She realizes that it's the right choice. And when she doesn't listen to it, it's the wrong choice. By the end of the story, it's her uncle, and that's my brother. I tied him into the story. She draws an angel for him. He was an artist. He was a very talented mixologist on Long Island, but he was also an artist. Wore many hats. She draws a picture of an angel for him. And by the end of the story, she gives it to him. Her heart's voice tells her to do so. And he's the one that explains to her, your heart's voice, you mean your intuition. That's something that we all have, and it's meant to help guide us throughout life. So that's how the book is concluded.
Interesting. There's so much there to kind of dive into. First, one of the things that I was wondering as you were speaking, when we're talking about intuition, is that kind of knowledge that is innate, genetic, or, like birds know how to build a nest. Every robin's nest is the same because they have this thing encoded in them. Or is our intuition sort of the culmination of lessons that our parents have instilled in us? And so that voice, it's like, oh, I want to take that pen, but back in my mind, I know my mom and my dad, my caregivers have taught me I shouldn't take things without asking.
It's something that is instilled in our heart and our soul, and it's our God-given gift that everyone has. So I have called it your heart's voice / your intuition. Some would call it my gut, my instincts, my conscience. There's plenty of names for it, but it is instilled within all of us. It's one of the things that I love about my book is that it's not just for children. While adults are reading it to children who can't read yet, don't know how to read yet, it is a gentle reminder for anybody of any age all over the world. We all have this, and it's meant to be used. It is a soft whisper, and when we realize that it helps guide us to make the right choice, we rely on it more and more. Children need to know what it is first, and my book helps identify that. And then once they understand it, then they will be able to use it more and more. I like to say it's like a muscle. Mm-hmm. It's like working out a muscle, whether it's your brain as your muscle or your bicep. Once we use it more and more, it grows. So children will realize, I am making the right choice when I listen to that voice and that whisper. I'm going to rely on it more and more. It helps shut out the noise from external factors. Our voice, our intuition is there to teach us right from wrong. It is our conscience. It is our innate compass. It's our intuitive awareness, our intuitive conscience, and our compass to help guide us. So when we're on the right path, we're making the right choices and life is a little easier. Fear, I like to say, is an unnatural feeling. It means that we're on the wrong path. We shouldn't have this anxiety and this fear-driven, emotion all the time. It means that our intuition is telling us we're on the wrong path. We're not doing things right. Life is supposed to be a little easier. It's supposed to be more harmonious and happy. Children are subjected to so much noise in today's society, whether it's friendships or in school even. On social media is a very negative component to that, and it's brainwashing people to not think for themselves and to not tap into their own intuitive awareness. That's what it's there for.
Interesting. What did you mentioned fear and anxiety, and we've heard not only here on the show but throughout media that the number of kids that are experiencing serious and severe anxiety is really exploding. Why do you think that is?
I think because children are tapped out of their inner voice and themselves. And especially children, because social media and the internet, the access is for everyone to be able to just sign on unless there's parental control, but it's very hard to do that all day long. And they're subjected to things that their minds can't even comprehend, let alone understand in the most minute way. When when children's minds, which are not maturely developed, seeing things and hearing things that they don't necessarily understand, they're following the crowd, and it creates a sense of identity that they don't really understand who they are. So it's easier for them to just follow what the popular thing is to do or what everyone else is doing. Even if it's negative, even if it's something that's harmful, even if it's something that is disturbing. I think children are lost, a large portion of them. I'm always telling my children, we practice what we preach here. What does your heart's voice tell you to do? The popular thing may not be the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is the hard thing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the right thing is not the thing that most people are doing. And that's what sets you apart. That's actually going to instill independence. And when we make independent choices in life, it boosts our self-esteem automatically. Self-esteem that's high boosts academic performance automatically. It goes hand in hand. And a self-assured child develops into a self-assured adult. And so it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. It's very important to find that connection in life at a young age and to develop it, to hone in on it, to believe in it, to trust it. And like I said, it'll get stronger throughout life.
Yeah. What are some of the things, other than reading your heart's voice with our kids and reminding them of the lessons, what are some ways we can help our kids develop the strength to not only follow that whisper and say, no, what the crowd is doing, it's wrong, and I know instinctively what I should do. How do we teach our kids to kind of do that and develop that muscle, as you said?
Well, I think the first step is to identify it. So we can't actually tackle any problem in life unless we know what it is. So we have to name it. Again, it's our intuition. My book calls it your heart's voice. And once we use the language and the repetition, then children will be able to understand and trust it. You need to be able to just keep reverting back to it. So, for instance, if my daughter doesn't want to clean her room, she would rather go play downstairs video games, but that's her chore for the day, and it's something that she agreed upon to do, and she knows she needs to do it. I would just keep saying, what does your heart's voice tell you to do? And she would say, put it back on them. Let them make the choice. But they have to be able to identify it. Well, my heart's voice is telling me, Mommy, that I should be cleaning my room right now. I don't really want to. I want to go play video games. That's your ego, right? Your mind. And that's why it's your heart's voice. It's not your mind's voice, right? Because our mind gets us in trouble a lot, especially as adults when ego takes over. So my heart's voice is telling me that I should be cleaning my room. And then when I'm done, I'll go play video games. Great. That means you're listening to your inner compass. That's what it's telling you to do. And when you're done, you'll feel good about yourself. You accomplished your goal, and then you can go reward yourself and go play video games. So it starts with repetition, identifying it. And once children see that when they make the right choice, they feel good about themselves. When you're a child, your parent feels good about you and themselves. Don't children want to do that? Like 9 out of 10 times, I feel like children want to make their parents feel good. It makes them feel good. So that relationship of that reciprocal relationship of I feel good, you feel good, they want their parents to be proud, and they want to feel good for themselves. That's where the self-esteem comes in. Mm-hmm. The independence comes in when they make the right choice. And when you do that over and over, it grows, and they rely on it. It's no longer the boogeyman. They trust. Just like anything else, when it works, I do this right, I trust it. When I study, I get a good grade. I trust that studying works. So like anything else, they can see that it works when the solution is a positive one. It also, like I said, it connects them with good judgment. So as I said, social media can play a negative impact on their developmental life. There's a lot of dangerous things in this world. And so children should have good judgment. When their inner voice tells them, no, danger, that's bad, whether it's somebody they don't know that they're talking to online, whether it's fire, whether it's cooking, at home and their parents not there, whatever it is, children, when they're not with their parents, they have to make decisions all the time. And isn't it our duty as a parent to set our children up for success? Mm-hmm. One of them is relying on our intuitive compass. And so it helps children understand danger and rely on themselves to make good choices and fast problem solving instead of, thinking about it. That whisper is going to be loud and clear when you rely on it more and more. It nurtures and it helps them connect between their inner voice and their inner compass. And it also gives them good judgment, which, as I said earlier, there's a connection between the mental and physical health when we have high self-esteem and we are relying on our intuition. And that's the holistic approach.
Yeah. This is, as you're speaking, I'm thinking there's an awful lot of adults out there who don't seem to be able to listen to their heart's voice. And it's on both sides of the political spectrum. When you're out there and you're on team whatever and you believe everything that everybody else on team whatever thinks, and it's like, I don't know if you're actually thinking for yourself and you're just kind of going along with the program. How do you think that we can help adults be more in tune with their heart's voice?
Well, again, if you're aware that your intuition exists and it's there, it helps us tune into our own. It's also a feeling, right? When let's say that even as an adult, something doesn't seem right. It makes your body feel yucky. It makes you start to feel like anxious, right? You get the chills, or you just get a bad thought and a bad feeling about something. That's your intuition telling you this is wrong, this is bad. That's an important thing to be able to tap into. So the awareness of how you feel, your body, and then your social awareness is also key. But I think, again, when we become independent thinkers, we cultivate that skill more and more. So as an adult, you would not follow the mainstream anything. Mm-hmm. And if something just doesn't sound right or feel right, it just doesn't sit well with you. It doesn't make sense. Common sense is important. My dad always says the unfortunate thing about common sense is it's not that common. So that also is tuning into ourselves. It doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right. So when things don't sound or feel right, they usually aren't right. So that's when we take a step back and we try to tap into our intuition. You take it a step further as an adult and you would do your research and you would be able to independently make choices that you think make sense for you. So then you have to do your own research and then you just dig deeper, and then that way you're not listening and following what mainstream anyone is saying, whether it's the media or the people in your circle, your colleagues. It goes for my book is not political, and I love that it helps anyone. I say that it can be a child in Asia, it could be a little girl in Florida, it could be a 16-year-old boy in Los Angeles, or it can be a 5-year-old little girl. It can be an adult or it can be a child. It doesn't matter Jade is a girl and she's 11, and I said that's because that's an angel number, but I might continue on with more books. There might be sequels where we follow Jade throughout life, and perhaps we see how, as you get older, your heart's voice follows you, and decisions become bigger, and problems become more complex. And so we might follow that developmental timeline to see how that affects her.
You know, your intuition intuited what I was going to ask you next. It is, you know, now that have your book out there and you listen to your intuition to create your heart's voice, I was going to ask you, are there going to be more books in this vein? And it sounds like there are.
My goal right now is to market and get the word out. I've learned that marketing is, if not harder than actually writing. I thought that was the hard part. So my goal right now is to nurture and get my book out on as many platforms as possible. I believe that my book can help anyone. And so I think the schools are one of the places that really can benefit from having my book. I'm happy to say that my book will be in the school that I used to work at. It will be tied into their social emotional curriculum. So not just in the library where it is now on Long Island at my children's school, or even in the public library. I'm in about 10 or 11 public libraries in Suffolk County. It's going to be intertwined into the curriculum. So that's something that each teacher in each grade will revert back to my book to help teach children and remind them throughout the day, not even if there's conflict resolution, just as a tool to be able to help on an emotional and social level. Children can revert back to the teachings of my book to help them throughout elementary school and even middle school.
Wonderful. We should tell people where they can go to find out more about your heart's voice and also find out more about you.
My book is available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble. It's on a bunch of other global platforms like Walmart, Target, but it's also on my website, ReneeGreeneMurphy.com. There's an E at the end of Greene.
Yeah. We've had a really fascinating time speaking to the author of Your Heart's Voice. It is the debut picture book by our guest, Renee Greene Murphy. Renee, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. In the meantime, please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok, and at Jedley Magic on Twitter. We also have a fantastic YouTube channel we hope you'll check out. It's youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. On our YouTube channel, you can find every episode of the show. You can also find our Drawing With Your Kids videos and our STEM is Family Fun videos. If you are an author, please be sure to check out our website, readingwithyourkids.com. When you're on there, click the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest here on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it doesn't cost a thing, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of families all around the world about your fantastic children's book. You can also learn about our other fun and very affordable and very effective promotional tools. So I just shared with you a great reason for authors and aspiring authors to visit readingwithyourkids.com. If you're not an author or an aspiring author, there's lots for you there too. You can find every episode of Reading With Your Kids at readingwithyourkids.com. Almost 2,000 episodes, fascinating conversations. Check it out. We have our conversations with Candace Cameron Bure, with Brad Meltzer, Mark Brown, LeVar Burton. It all can be found on readingwithyourkids.com. You can also find our blog, download our free online magazine, and get direct links to our social media accounts and also links to our YouTube channel. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guests, Stephanie Barber and Renee Greene Murphy. Also want to thank our fantastic sponsors. Oh, and we want to congratulate Christine Ritchie McNamee on her book, Logan and the Lost Luggage, becoming our latest Reading With Your Kids certified great read. I want to I want to give a big thank you to the members of my team: Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Nick Warner, Kyoko Ito, Kaylin Newland, Kristen Barrett, Sydney Swan, Hannah Rose. Of course, I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of her support. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you on the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.